Alright, so yesterday we ended off with chapter number 13, excision and homeostasis. Today we have to start from your reproduction in plants, chapter number 14. Chapter 14, reproduction in plants. Okay, so plants perform which type of reproduction? What do you guys think? What type of reproduction does the plant do? Yes. Only sexual?
Asexual and sexual, both of them.
Very good. So plants perform both type of reproduction. So reproduction is one of the traits of all living organisms. Okay. Plants reproduce both sexually and asexually. Asexual reproduction involves just one parent. Okay. And some of the parent cell divides to produce cells that contain exactly the same genes as the parent cell. Okay. Therefore, they are genetically identical. And the offspring produced are genetically identical to that of parents, obviously. Parents as well, and with all, amongst themselves as well. All of them are genetically identical. Okay, they're all genetically identical. Okay, look at these. These are three examples of your asexual reproduction. Look at this runner. Okay. So in this runner, usually you take the example of grass. Look at this. This is a plant, parent plant. A runner is established between them. Okay. Offspring is started to grow here. Okay. Wherever the runner touches the ground, new plant is produced over there. Whenever this plant will be able to support itself, this will break from the middle and they will live as two different plants. Asexual reproduction. This is potato tuber, obviously. Potato tuber. Have you ever seen, those, if you, keep your potato in the kitchen, usually in the summers, you will see that, small, small buds come out of it. Have you ever seen those? Have you ever seen that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? So small birds come out of it. They give rise to another potato. If you keep them there, they will make another potato out of it. Okay, and it comes from the small black dots that you see on the potato. It's basically called the eyes. That are basically the buds, potato buds. Okay, so they form the potato. Okay, so this is why you have potato tubers. Second, you have onion bulbs. Onions also, they also reproduce like this. Okay. Now see if you can see. This is one bulb. Second bulb is forming from behind it. Okay, the swollen with food, buds in them can develop into new plants. Okay, and then plants can form more than one bulb and they can basically reproduce like this. All of these are example of asexual reproductions. Okay. Then there's another way of performing asexual reproduction, that is through cutting. In cutting, what do? You take a plant, okay, and you cut it basically from, let's say you cut one stem out of it with the leaf, and you bury it in soil, compost, and you add fertilizers and all, and you will see if you provide proper nutrition and everything, a new plant will grow out of it. Is this clear? So that is cutting. You're cutting one plant, okay, and what are you doing? You're planting it again, and that will grow into another plant. Is this clear? These are basically 4 ways in which asexual reproduction can take place in plants.
Miss, what's runner?
Runner is basically, can you see this thing coming out of your parent plant? This is runner. Wherever this ends, the new plant starts to grow. See, new plant is produced where the runner touches the ground. It's basically, you can say connection between parent plant and offspring plant.
Okay, miss.
Alright, anyone else any questions? All clear? Saad, Laila, clear?
Yes.
Does the runner stay after the new plant has formed, or does it get removed?
In which example? Runner?
The first one.
Runner, right? See now, after it has touched, after it is able to support itself, it leaves the photosynthesizing and all. This runner will break, and they will live as separate plants. And then this will form another runner, and then another plant will grow here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll any questions?
No, miss.
All right, great. So everyone's clear. Right, now let's talk about your sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, this was your uh, asexual reproduction. Let's talk about sexual reproduction now. Sorry. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay. Right, let me just copy a diagram if I can find one. This is okay. Okay. This is your flower. On the outside of the flower, you have sepals. Okay. Sepals basically protect the flower while it is a bud. Okay. And sepals are normally green. Okay, you can see it in the diagram as well. They are green. Then you have petals. Petals are just inside the sepals. All right. And they are often brightly colored, as you can see in this diagram as well. Why is that? Why do you think petals are brightly colored? Yes. Yes, Saad.
To attract pollinators.
Very good. Okay, so you want to say the same thing, right? To attract insects or
Yes, miss.
po-
Yeah.
good pollinators to flowers. Okay, good. And then you have stamen. Stamen are inside the petal, as you can see here as well. This is stamen. It is inside the petal. This is the male part of your plant. Okay, now each stamen is made up of a long filament with an anther on the top. Anther contains the pollen grain, which is your male gamete. This contains your pollen. All right. Now, carpel, on the other hand, okay, that contains an ovary. Because they've called it a pistil, or maybe 1 second. Stigma style ovary comes into your, it's either called pistil, it's also called carpel, okay? Carpel. Okay. This contains an ovary. Inside the ovary, there are many ovules. This is one ovule, right? All of these are ovules. All of these are ovules. These contains the female gamete. All right. And at the top of the ovary, you have the style with the stigma at the top of style as well. The stigma, style, and ovary. Function of stigma is to what? It's to catch the pollen grain. That's why we say transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. Right? So this is for catching your pollen. Ovary. All right. And ignore this pedicle and receptacle. Not important. This stage. All right. Yes, Zoya.
Miss, isn't the ovule part of the pistil or carpel?
It's inside the ovary, right? So ovule is part of ovary. And stigma
Okay.
style ovary all come under carpel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now let's talk about your pollen grains and ovules. Pollen grain and ovules. Okay. So your male gametes are inside the pollen grains, okay, which are made in the anther. Which are in the anther. Hemant, why are you late?
Sorry, miss, I forgot that I had a class.
Or anther basically has, 4 spaces inside it, which are basically called pollen sacs. Which are called pollen sacs. Umar, why are you late? Okay. Basically, we started the chapter of reproduction in plants. We just talked about asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay. Alright. Now, some of the cells around the edge of the pollen sacs divide to make your pollen grains. Some of the cells around the edge of the pollen sac divide to make pollen grains. When the flower bud opens, your anther splits upon, and therefore the pollen is in the, I can say, it's on the outside of the anther. So when the flower bud opens, anther splits open. Therefore, the pollen is on the outside of the anther. Outside of the anther. Okay. So pollen is basically fine powder. Often yellow in color. Alright. And if I talk about pollination, okay, so in order for fertilization to take place, okay, your male gamete must travel to the female gamete. Okay. So in the first stage, first pollination needs to happen, then only fertilization can take place. Okay, so in the first stage, Pollen needs to be transferred from the anther to the stigma. One second. Let me reshare it. Oh, sorry. Anther to the stigma. And pollination is carried out either by insects or wind. Pollination is carried out Is this clear up till here? Any questions? Zoya, Ayla, Saad.
No,
Okay,
miss.
well, all
No,
right.
miss.
Okay, please note this down. Then we will talk about types of pollination.
Miss, I actually do have a question.
Yes, Zoya, go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't really understand the types of the asexual reproduction, the one where pasted the diagram. I didn't get all of them.
Okay. See, there are three types. Okay, one is for in the example of grass. Okay, a runner develops from the parent plant, and wherever it stops, the offspring starts to grow from there. Okay, so basically, a part started to grow from the parent plant, and that supported it until the offspring plant was not able to support itself. Once it was able to support itself, it broke off from the middle. It's asexual, right? We just needed one parent, right? There's no transfer of gamete or things like that. All right.
Okay.
Second, potato tuber, just like that, it's coming from itself, right? Like cells are dividing by mitosis, and that is doing asexual reproduction, because asexual reproduction is done by mitosis, right? So the buds from it are giving rise to another potato. Similarly, that also goes for your onions as well. They have food store, okay, and they become swollen with food, and then buds can develop into new plants. All of them are happening to mitosis, and we only need one plant for that, one parent.
Okay, so from the onion and the potato, they just like grow directly?
Yes, because they have food store and they can develop through mitosis. That's what asexual reproduction is about.
Okay.
No game, nothing. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, no issues. Can I move down? Are you guys done?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Okay, this, and then we'll talk about different types. All right, let's talk about wind and insect pollination. Right, so in some plants, it is wind that carries the pollen between flowers. Okay, wind pollinated flowers usually produce much more pollen than insect. Why? Because wind will waste a lot of pollen as well. Okay, a lot of pollen will not even fall on the flower. Okay, wind pollinated flowers usually do not have petals. Okay, so there's no need to attract insects, obviously, because they just need wind, right? So what's the point of petals? And there's a stigma dangle outside the flower to catch the pollen, and filament of the anthers are very flexible, so they can basically swing in and send and release their pollen as well. Okay, and your feathery stigma have a large surface area, increasing the chance of catching your pollen. For your insect pollinated, let's look at the table. They have large conspicuous petals with guidelines, scented. Okay, that is to attract insects and all. Nectar is at the base of petals to produce nectar. Okay, anthers are inside flowers where insect has to brush past them to de-seal nectar so that some pollen will stick to them. Again, stigma is also inside. They have sticky or spiky pollen. Yes, wind pollinated have smooth and light pollen which can be blown in the air. And they have sticky and spiky pollen which sticks to insects. Okay. They have large quantities of pollen because some of them will either be delivered to the wrong kind of flower. Both of them have large quantities of pollen because it will be lost. It will be flown into air. It can go into other types of flower. Okay, so there is no confirmed pollination that it will 100% take place. That's why there's large quantity of pollen being produced. Difference is clear. No scent, no nectaries, no petals at all. Anthers are dangling outside where they catch the wind. Stigma is also large and feathery, dangle outside where pollen in the air may land on it. Okay, and smooth light pollen and large quantities of pollen. This table is very important. Alright, is this clear? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now let's talk about
Clear.
self and cross pollination. So in self pollination, Sorry. Alright, so in cell pollination, pollen is carried to the stigma of the same flower. Alhamdulillah. Or to the another flower in the same plant. In cross pollination, pollen is taken to a flower. On a different plants. Of the same species. Otherwise, it won't take place. Okay. If pollen lands on the stigma of a different species, on the stigma, on the stigma, what is wrong with this? 1 second, let me share this. On the stigma of a different species. Of a plant. Pollen grain usually dies. Then we have fertilization. So after pollination, male gamete inside the pollen grain is on the stigma, obviously. Female gamete inside the ovule, which is inside the ovary. We have talked about this. For fertilization to take place, male gamete must fuse with the female gamete. Clear? If pollen grain has landed on the right kind of stigma, it will then grow a pollen tube. Okay. Pollen tube will grow down the style and the ovary towards the ovule. It will secrete enzymes to digest the pathway through the style. Ovule is surrounded by several protective layers that are basically called your integuments. Okay, I'll just write it down. Just give me a second. Okay, and at the end, what will happen is a small hole that is called micropyle. So it basically inserts the enzyme, basically digests them. Okay, and create a pathway for the tube to enter. Let me just copy this 1 second. That's easier for you to remember in the steps. Just write it down. I have it written down. Sorry, here. Okay, yes. Integuments, and then after that there is a small hole that is called a micropyle. Pollen tube grows through the micropyle into the ovule. Alright. Pollen nucleus will travel along the pollen tube into the ovule, fuse with the ovule nucleus, and then what will happen? If there are many ovules in the ovary, many pollen grains will be needed to fertilize them all. Otherwise, only one will fertilize only one. Okay, it's not like one pollen grain can fertilize many ovules. Okay, so simple. Pollination is done. Pollen tube will grow down the style towards the ovule. It will secrete enzymes and will enter through the part that is called micropyle. That will enter into the ovule. Pollen nucleus will travel along the pollen tube into the ovule. It will fuse with the ovule nucleus and will then fertilize and zygote will form. Clear? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Emmet, Ayla, Zoya, Saad, all clear?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Clear.
All right, great. Note this down and we will talk about the seeds. Alright, can I scroll down?
Yes, ma'am.
Take a picture of this table and then note it down later, please. Right, write it down later. Then you have self and cross pollination and fertilization. Yes. Anyone any questions?
Miss, could you show the table for a
Yes,
second?
sure. Take a screenshot or take a picture. Yeah. Done, sir?
Yes, Miss.
Oh, okay. Now self and cross pollination and fertilization. Alright, done.
Almost, miss.
Alright. Yes, Zoya.
Miss, is the pollen the one secreting enzymes down the tube?
Pollen tube will secrete the enzymes, right? It's a tube that is forming, right? Then the pollen travels. Pollen nucleus.
So the pollen tube will like first sense that the pollen is on the stigma, and then it will make it form a
Pollen.
tube.
See, pollen tube. Okay. See, I was saying pollen tube is sent after pollen lands on the stigma. Because that is what instigated. Okay, fine. You need to make a tube for the nucleus to travel. Okay, so yes, you can say after that, pollen will secrete the enzyme and then the pollen nuclei will travel along the pollen tube. Okay, there are enzymes in pollen as well, diastase and invertase as well. Okay. Clear? See,
Yes.
pollen tube will be entering the ovule, right, through the micropyle. So that will be, producing the enzymes and then pollen nuclei will travel. Okay.
So after like it close down into the ovary, will the pollen tube like shut, or will it like combine or something, or will it just be there?
It just, goes back, like it just vanishes like it was never there. It just like goes back. Okay, just like your neurotransmitters are reuptaken, this pollen tube also, goes back.
Okay.
Alright, done writing down. Anyone else? Any questions? Are you guys done?
No questions.
Okay, great. The last thing is seeds. Let's talk about it and we're done with the chapter. Okay, so after the ovule has been, fertilized, many of the parts of the flowers are not, needed anymore. Sepals, petals, stamens, they all, wither and fall off. Okay. Inside the ovary, the ovules start to grow. Okay. Each ovule, now it depends if there's more than one ovule. Okay. So each ovule now contains a zygote which is formed as fertilization. Okay. Each ovule now contains a zygote. If there's one ovule, then one. Okay. If there's more than one, then more than one. Okay. Just depends. Okay. Zygote divides by mitosis. To form an embryo plant. To form an Okay, ovule is now a seed. Okay, seed contains very little water, and when the seed was formed in the plant, okay, the water in it was drawn. Okay, so that seed became dehydrated. So there is also a point with behind it, right? The point is that without water, no metabolic process can occur. Okay, and so seed is basically in dormant condition. Seed is dormant. Why? Because it's dehydrated. There is no water. It's dehydrated. Okay, and this is useful because dormant seed can survive, harsh conditions as well. Okay, for example, like cold or drought, which would basically kill a growing plant. Okay, so a seed must be in certain conditions before it begins to germinate. All right, is this clear? Is this making sense? It's dehydrated so that it's useful for it. It will stay dormant. It will survive the harsh conditions. It won't die. A growing plant will die. Okay, if it's in this type of conditions.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. And for germination, if I talk about the conditions, one second. Sorry. Okay. So we will basically talk about the conditions. Yes, you need sunlight, you need water. Okay, for your germination, and that's in because see, when water is there, metabolic process will be there. The food will start to, the stored food will be there. Oxygen is required. Okay, that will be respired upon. Okay, and then obviously it will start to grow, and then young leaves and young shoots will come out. Shoots and roots that are called radicle and plumule. They will come out, and then the leaves will come out, and then will start to support itself. Clear? Any questions?
Miss, can you repeat the conditions required?
Yes. Conditions for germination. I'll note them down. You need proper temperature. Alhamdulillah. Oxygen, water. These are the three main. Okay, then obviously as it starts to grow a bit, sunlight, soil, all of these things will also matter. These top three are the main ones. Okay, and obviously when it will little start to grow, okay, like little, then you need sunlight and soil type as well. But these are the main three. Clear? Any questions, anyone? All clear? Yes, sir.
Miss, when a seed, no, sorry, like when a zygote in and like ovule is growing into an embryo, the ovary turns into a fruit, right?
Yes.
Okay, and one more thing, why is soil like specific necessary for the seed germination?
Where will the nutrients come from if soil is not there?
No,
I
like
said after it starts to grow a bit, then sunlight and soil is required. Okay. Main for germination, temperature, oxygen, and water are needed. When it starts to grow a bit, like I told you, young roots and young shoots are coming out, then obviously you need sunlight and soil as well, right? If you put it in just random soil, there's no nutrients in there. Do you think it will grow? How will it sustain itself? Alright, is this clear? That's why soil is important.
Okay, miss.
Yes. Anyone else any questions?
No, ma'am.
Alright, that's great then. So we are done with the chapter. Alhamdulillah. Next week, inshallah, we are going to start off with reproduction in humans. Okay, chapter number 15. Right? Alright, there is no further questions. I will then see you next week, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.